Oh, and there we go. Hey guys, Sifu Adil here, Master Instructor at Niagara Kung Fu Academy, and I wanted to talk to you today about dealing with anxiety in our kids. We have a growing concern with students, some of our younger students. It was normal for adults to come into our program and say they're struggling with anxiety and depression, and we would work together to overcome that. And we've got a lot of great success stories of students who were very nervous, coming in, meeting new people, and trying a class. And a while later, they're so comfortable that they can, eventually for 3 or 4 years when they're qualified, they can even teach a class of their own. So there's a lot of growth there that we see. But now we're seeing a lot of that happen with kids. We see more children coming in struggling with anxiety and depression, and it seems to be a new and kind of growing fear for parents. And I wanted to help you, help your kids be able to overcome that anxiety and fear. And the first step to that is dealing with different types of fear, right? There's 2 different types of fear. There's rational fear, and then there's irrational fear. And identifying the difference is the first step to overcoming some of that anxiety, and then which will would lead to depression if not dealt with, if left unchecked. And so there's rational fear, which is a common sense fear we have. We have the fear of stepping in front of traffic. We have the fear of poisonous snakes. Those are all good rational fears that keep us alive. And then we have irrational fear. And irrational fears when we're afraid of something that doesn't actually threaten our life or our health. And I call those fears, to break them down simply, I break them down into either hard threats or soft threats. Hard threat being, again, a car is coming at you, you've got to make sure you get out of the way. That is an example of a hard threat. And then a soft threat is where something, we're afraid of going and meeting new people, we're afraid of, speaking in front of people. And those soft threats, if we give into those soft threats, it keeps us from doing things that we really want to do. It keeps us from meeting new people. It keeps us from taking on new challenges, doing things we enjoy. And for kids, it keeps them from socializing with other kids. So we want to coach our students to be able to identify those threats first. So that's one thing you can do. The first step to helping your child overcome anxiety is to practice with them identifying those threats. So when they see something that they're afraid of, just ask, is that a hard threat or is that a soft threat? Is it something that's going to injure you? Then it's a hard threat. Is it not going to injure you immediately? Well, then that's a soft threat. So that's the first part. The second part is visualization. Visualization, it could be a really helpful tool in this process. When you look at a lot of Olympic athletes, they've been reported to use a lot of visualization techniques and strategies. If you look at, say, Michael Phelps, for example, his training regimen, what he does is he's constantly visualizing his end result, constantly visualizing his as he's getting on the platform, as he's diving in, as he's swimming, all the way through to victory. He's gone through that in his head again and again and again. And it works really well for him. And there's a lot of athletes that use this, and a lot of, not only athletes, but very successful people that use these kind of exercises. We know they work. They work really well. Now the problem with that is when we have anxiety, it's the same thing, but it's in the opposite direction, right? When we're nervous about something, what do we typically do? We visualize it, but we visualize all the things that we don't want to happen. We think, oh my God, what if this happens? What if people laugh at me? What if I, make a goof of myself? All these horrible things that could happen, they roll around in our mind again and again and again. When we're worrying about something, we're almost literally praying for what we don't want to happen, right? And then it's more likely to happen because we've already gone through it in our mind so many times. So when we have something that we're terrified of doing, it could even be just something simple like going and meeting someone new. What we can do instead, we identify that first, so that's not a hard threat, that's a soft threat, and we want to visualize the outcome that we want. So we just can take a minute or 2 minutes to close our eyes and think, hey, what's the best case scenario that could happen? We can go up to someone new we don't know, we can make good eye contact, we can introduce ourselves, we can smile, and they'll smile back, and they'll be really, really nice. That's the end result that we want. And if we visualize that a few times, we're more likely to get that outcome, right? Might not happen, but it's definitely better than praying for what we don't want, praying for someone to laugh in our face, right? So coaching our kids and our students to go through that visual exercise first, right, will give us a sense of calm and a sense of confidence, right? Because your subconscious mind doesn't really know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. So if we go through that first in the mind, it's going to help us go through that after in the body. And if we do this, it's going to help us get over a lot of the stress. Now, you can think of an example of this, right? If we don't do this and we're constantly thinking about all the things that we don't want, and we constantly retreat back into our comfort zone, these little things like, talking to people and speaking in front of people is going to get harder and harder. And if you want an example of this, just think about what happens now when the phone rings, right? 20 years ago, when the phone would ring, you would pick it up and you would say something like "Olo" or "Hello" or whatever you would say, no problem. But nowadays, when we're getting so used to not having that interaction and we're constantly typing, texting, and messaging, what happens now when the phone rings? What do? A lot of people are like, "Oh my God, the phone's ringing! Who dare calls me?" Right? And you freak out and you have this panic because you might actually have to talk to someone live over the phone. That's an example of what happens when we're constantly retreating into this comfort zone and we don't coach ourselves to push out of it. So visualization, I feel, is a very handy tool to do that. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to be encouraging these steps out of our comfort zone. They don't have to be big steps, just baby steps. But if we keep making continual baby steps out of our comfort zone, we're going to get some momentum, right? But we have to positively reinforce that effort. And that's another thing too. We want to positively reinforce that effort that our child makes out of their comfort zone. And not reinforce the activity so much, the result, but reinforce just the fact that they tried. So that way they get a positive, good feeling associated with trying, but not bribing. So those are two different things you want to make sure you differentiate. You don't want to say, give you this, right? That's a bribe, and it's not going to work out the same way, because then we're teaching our kids to only do that when, in exchange for something. We don't want that. We want to encourage them to try, and then if they do, we want to reinforce that trying. In our Kung Fu program, this works really well because we have regular testing. And any one of our students will tell you when they go to test, it is a little bit nerve-wracking, right? They're really nervous about it. Some students are on the verge of tears even, but we coach them through and they do it, and afterwards they feel pretty good because they have that sense of accomplishment. So the belt system we use in Kung Fu is not about, now I got a green belt so I can beat up this person. It's not that, right? It's I stepped out of my comfort zone, I did something new, I tried it, and now I'm rewarded for it. So we have a positive association with trying something new and stepping out of our comfort zone. So if you haven't done that yet, if you haven't tried a martial arts program and you think it might be a good fit to get that kind of confidence going and stepping out of your comfort zone and dealing with anxiety, you guys can check us out for a free trial. And during that free trial, what we'll do is we'll coach your child to step out of their comfort zone, build their confidence up, and then even earn their first belt. And you'll see usually when the student earns his first belt, his or her first belt, it's a really big confidence booster for them, because not just because it was given to them, but it was something they earned. So there's going to be a link at the bottom of this somewhere if you want to check out that two-week trial for your child. Just click the link below. We'll have our program director contact you and set up your first free lesson, and then they can talk about how they can earn their belt. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you guys found that useful, and if you have any questions or comments about that, please feel free to put them in the comment section there, and I will talk to you later.